I'll probably shock you when I say this. The least interesting thing that a large language model can do is to write a draft for a page of content that I want to put on the web. To me, that's not terribly interesting. And I know everybody's like, what? What are you talking about? For me and for, my peers and people who are thinking about this the way that I do, it's really great at doing things that get me closer to be able to execute on a piece of expert content, not actually writing the expert content. Why? There's so many reasons why. You mentioned a few of them. But what I don't want to put myself in a position of is where my end result is a draft that I've generated that I had to edit dramatically and maybe even decrease my efficiency. And then what I get out of the bottom is something similar to what I would have written on my own.
Welcome to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where we simplify AI for impactful marketing. I'm your host, Mike Allton, here to guide you through the world of artificial intelligence and its transformative impact on marketing strategies. Each episode will break down AI concepts into manageable insights and explore practical applications that can supercharge your marketing efforts. Whether you're an experienced marketer or just starting to explore the potential of AI, this podcast will equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to succeed. So tune in and let's unlock the power of AI together. Greetings, program. Welcome back to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at keeping up with and integrating or layering artificial intelligence into social media, content, advertising, search, and other areas of digital marketing. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. How can your business truly stand out in a crowded content landscape? Are you maximizing the expertise of your subject matter experts, SMEs, to create high impact content? And most importantly, how can artificial intelligence take your SME driven marketing to the next level? In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into these questions with Jeff Coyle, co founder and chief strategy officer at MarketMuse. With over a decade of experience in AI driven content strategy, Jeff is going to share how integrating AI with SME expertise can revolutionize your marketing efforts. He'll provide actionable insights in leveraging this powerful combination to drive better results and deeper engagement. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, a great intro. Can't beat that. That's what we're going to do today. That's what I've been doing since, I've been trying to do it since the late 90s. And now, sort of last decade, that's what I've been living.
Love it, because that's what I always like to say. It's not me talking about you, it's the work that you've done that
Right.
allows me to say amazing things like you've been doing this for a decade. And in full transparency, a lot of this is AI helping me come up with these crafted
Love it.
intros. But I'd love it if you could start by just sharing a bit about your background, because I only
Sure.
just touched on it briefly, and how you became involved in what we were calling AI driven marketing.
Sure. So I went to Georgia Tech for computer science. I'm originally from Jersey, moved down to there. And while I was there, I was focused on two things. One was the earliest versions of search engines. So intranet search, if people even know what an intranet
Oh
is.
my.
And then, more like enterprise search, basic text retrieval, and then also usability and user interface software and accessibility and those types of things. So some of the early work I was doing was I mean, it sounds pretty nerdy, but taxonomies and ontologies and classifying things into things, right? And this was before auto tagging. This is before there was really strong linguistics tech. And then my junior year in college, I started working at a startup called Knowledge Storm. I was one of the first interns there, and then worked there till it was acquired in 2007. What we were trying to sell B2B tech companies have content on their websites, like big companies, IBM, Dell. Like they didn't have any of their content on their websites. We were like, get that stuff on the web, as crazy as it sounds. And we were generating leads. At one point, we were generating millions of leads per month with this network of hundreds of sites that we had, basically a white paper directory. And then we were acquired by Tech Target, who you may be familiar with, where I ran their traffic search and engagement team. So all inbound, paid social community management. And we were generating leads, but we were also developing amazing content that Tech Target was across a network of over 200 websites. And that was my experience of going from thinking only about leads and only about performance to having an editorial team and writers who were subject matter experts. And I walked in the door thinking I knew everything about everything, frankly. And I said, here's what you should write about. And you know what happens when you say that to an editor in chief who knows their stuff and has 20 years experience? They're like, nope, not doing that. So I
Nope.
had to, over the course of years, figure out and begin, join the journey of respect, frankly, for the subject matter expert and the editorial excellence that was on that staff. And I didn't at first. I was like, just write this article and it's going to rank and we're going to get a lot of traffic and get a lot of leads. So that kind of merging of and that clashing in many cases, because we were all fighting for, scarce resources, and the scarce resource of a writer is tough. And so I had learned every workflow, all these horrible manual editorial workflows, and they were like keeping me up at night every day, right? And so when I left Tech Target, and by the way, we were very successful, and the editorial teams, that started to consider performance marketing crushed it. I mean, they are superstars of kind of performance marketing melded with editorial, and the SEO team, they're amazing too. That's the search engine optimization team. And then when I was working at a private equity firm and doing some side work, and I met my co-founder of MarketMuse. And I originally thought that the technology was something that you would use to classify. I love classifying things in taxonomies, classifying content into categories. And I asked him over email, I said, "Hey, Aki, does this software classify documents into categories? Because that's what I'm excited about, auto tagging." And he's like, "No, but here's what it does do." And what it did was it examined topics and concepts and content to see if it exhibited signals of expertise. And my brain exploded. I'm like, oh my gosh. And by the way, this was 10 years ago. This was AI tech that, the earliest versions of natural language understanding and topic modeling and graph analysis and vector analysis. And it was a very clever approach to doing something I didn't feel like was going to ever be solved. And so that was when MarketMuse was born. And so what we do is we're able to analyze content and state whether it has the signals that an expert has written it. And then we take that at the site level. We expanded that to build briefs to support writers. And then we expanded that to do site level analysis. So we can actually look at your site and group it into clusters and tell you where you have strong ones, weak ones. Hey, you want to own this topic, Mike? Well, you got a lot of work to do. Or this one's going to be an easy lift. And what that does is it puts the editorial excellence and subject matter expert in the driver's seat so that they're not necessarily going to only have to do one type of content. They can actually say, we're going to win through editorial excellence. And that frees up both teams to do great work. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. It's editorial, performance marketing, search, all being on the same page through data.
First of all, internet took me way back to the 90s. I used to work for Dana Corporation. We had a Lotus database and Lotus
Oh, nice.
nodes, and yeah, I was neck deep in intranets back there because I was part of the global IT.
Yeah,
Dana was an 80,000 global employees kind of a company, so the
sure.
intranet was a big deal
Oh, yeah.
there. But I'd love for you to
By the way, enterprise search still isn't perfectly solved. I mean, now
yeah,
with
right.
agents, AI agents, and, is there more we can do with AI, with internal search? I think it's a a way to, I think that post-sale documents, as they call it, which would be internal documentation, technical documentation, are often, unknown to the org. And so through enterprise search and through, clever AI techniques, DITA, and, a couple of things like that, it's still an untapped open opportunity for people for excellence, I believe, because of there's a big gap between the post-sale docs owners and the marketing people still. And so I'm not dealing with that one right now, but I'm dealing with the content marketing gap with editorial and SEO, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's another podcast I listen to, the AI Edge, and they're focused on enterprise
Yeah.
level implementation
Mhm.
of AI, and that's something they talk about a lot because the data is just so distributed. It's not in any cohesive way. It's not standardized, and that's the biggest challenge I think today with AI
Oh,
implementation is,
yeah.
well, what data are you giving the AI? But I'd love if you could just take a minute to share a little bit more about MarketMuse.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you can break it down for the audience because we've got marketers of all stripes that
Sure,
are
sure.
listening to the show. We've got social media marketers and so on. Help them understand how they or someone else in their organization, would use MarketMuse?
So I like to think of like three stages of content strategy. So if you want to go deeper, it can be something like ideation, ideation. So what should I be doing? Doing data analysis, research, briefing, writing, editing, publishing, post-publish optimization, right? That's like the deeper dive. But I like to break it into basically analysis, planning, and execution. And with Market Muse, we're focused on all of the above. So giving you a way to use artificial intelligence that's personalized for your site or your network. So the one unique thing that we can do is we look at your site and look at your existing coverage of content. Look at your breadth of coverage on a topic, your depth of coverage, the quality of that content with respect to expertise, right? Then also performance. Is it working? Is it doing well, right? And when you combine those things, I can give you personalized metrics for how much work you need to do to level that up. And so that analysis can happen in 3 or 4 different ways, right? It can be through cluster analysis, which people are afraid of. But all that is I'm looking at your site and I'm reading your content and I'm bucketing each of those pages into groups and then saying, hey, this is a cluster. What are the areas of this cluster you haven't covered? Right. So that cluster on demand cluster gap analysis. Now, the next frontier for marketers is intent. Does my content appeal to the target intents? So we have the ability to analyze what are the target personas, what are the target intents, and deliver recommendations. The third would be quality, content quality. So where do I have buckets of content that are thin? Where did I try to, because 5 years ago it was easy. I was just popping up a bunch of listicles on my site
Right.
and I made a bunch of money, right? Now, not so much. So I can basically say, yeah, you could still own this topic, but you need the early stage awareness. You need the middle of the funnel. You need better listicles because those kind of stink. And then you need that post purchase troubleshooting. You need the ownership content, which is, by the way, if you're selling products, that's one of your secrets today is troubleshooting and ownership. What are the articles that you're writing after you buy those pairs of shoes? Right. That's that's the stuff that a lot of these sites are missing. In case you want a hot tip, check your site, look at your favorite topics that have declined. If you were only writing about middle of the funnel, you need early stage and you need post purchase. That's your $1 million takeaway for today. And then so we look at that and we're able to say, hey, here's what you are just do. Or you may come to us. So that's if you don't know what to do. We'll
Right.
prioritize what to do. That's that analysis and research. Now you get into planning. Okay. You told me I need to write an article about, podcast microphones. What? What is it? What do I do? I don't know. Am I just writing what is a podcast microphone? That seems lame.
Right.
Well, so now that's planning, right? So based on what I already have, what do I need to do? Do I need to update some pages? How many articles do I need to build? And in what target markets and groups do those live? That's the next phase. Then I can say, ooh, I like those. I want to do those. Let's build briefs for the ones I want to build. Right. So then I can build those briefs. Now my writer can go execute that any way they wish. Right. Use your favorite AI assistant. We have one if you'd like to use it. Ours is cool because it keeps the topic models and
Mm.
the graph analysis in context. So if you want to use those or use whatever, but we give you the ability to analyze that draft and say whether it has met expectations of the brief and then publish confidently. Not just publish confidently like this is good, but publish confidently knowing that you're basically playing Moneyball with content, right? I know these are the 4 articles you needed to write. So when you publish it, you're like, it's not just a black box. What we do is we take teams, and I gave the detailed explanation. We take teams from hitting 1 out of 10 batting average of content. I write 10 articles to get one to perform well, up to 30, 40, 50 and above percent.
Mm.
And that changes everything for editorial. That changes everything for the writers because they're like, I believe I can win. I mean,
Right.
I spoke to a writer where they were a member of the team. They didn't get to decide what they wrote. There was an editor. And this was recently, and he was frankly like downtrodden. It was just like, he's like, nothing works. SEO's broken. And I'm like, it's not. And I show him a few of my number ones, rank brag, hashtag rank brag, right? And I'm like, dude, you will be able to get there. He's like, you're just not picking the right, you know, horse to bet on. Because
Hmm.
now I'm seeing that writer crush it. And this was in entertainment and travel. And one of the examples I always give, I can't say the name, but he was like, do I really have to write 26 articles about this celebrity? And I'm like, yep, you do. Sorry, but you do. And he's like, oh man, that's brutal. And I said, just trust. And guess what? They were there when the next news cycle hit and this particular celebrity was involved. They owned it. And guess what? He gets paid on page views. So big one with-
Legit money ball.
so that's kind of the play, right? It's what should I do? Back it up with data so we can all get along. This isn't just a, you know, hidden hope. Give me more details. Make sure I can personalize it. And we're gonna get it. We can get into that because that's a big gap is how to personalize outputs of artificial intelligence. Make sure I can personalize it so I feel good about what I'm writing. I'm not just publishing crap. And then, support me as I execute. And then you can even go back a month later and we'll give you advice of how to make the page better after maybe the intent shifted. Maybe
Mhm.
the world changed, right? You go back to that page and how should I refresh this for today's intent? And that's really great for news, events, local, which are all target markets for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is the power of AI. In fact, we did an entire episode with Andy Christina all about content gaps and how to identify them and fill them in. I'll link to that in the show notes for you guys to do
Andy,
a
one of
deeper
my favorite
dive,
partners
right?
and
He's fantastic.
MarketMuse customer for many years, by the way. So if you want to do stuff like Andy and his team, by the way, he's got a lot of times it's Andy. He's got a killer team. I mean, they
Yeah,
are Orbit. If you need an agency, and I'm like plugging Andy. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Orbit's got their act together. If you have a WordPress site, Orbit's got their act.
They are amazing. He's a genius. It was a terrific episode, but we want to talk about SMEs
Mhm.
and content marketing, and I'm really interested in your opinion on how that's evolved, how that role has
Right.
evolved with all this AI.
Well, what I'll say is evolved. Yes,
Mm,
the sharp players. This has been part of their playbook. Now it's easier to be part of your playbook. And what I'll highlight is I think you can speak to this through the evolution of content agencies. It is there was a lot of low quality content agencies that existed, right? But there were a few that got that they needed to be they needed subject matter experts in the loop. All right. How did they do that? One group would say, we're going to go find experts. They're on our staff. They're our contract killers. They're our mercenaries, and they're going to support you. Other content agencies that focus on expertise would say, we're going to extract the great goo out of the heads of your employees, right? And the people that, we know that are, that are part of that ecosystem. The smart and the sharps, I think on the agency side had both. You could actually do one or the other, but that makes content more expensive, right? And then the world exploded, right? Now there's an infinite supply of low quality content. There's an infinite supply of like mediocre content that is uninspired. That change makes subject matter experts the most important person in the room. So if you are a product manager and you know everything about your product, you are the most important person in the room. If you're an executive and you know the space, you are the most important person. If you're the person that manages technical documentation, post-sale documentation, your CX people. So people have been saying that for a long time. Like these are people are important. Let's get this stuff out of. But it's been so hard. What do you do? How do you get them to write? Was always the challenge. What if you're in a law firm? Do you really get your best lawyers to spend their time writing content marketing? No, that doesn't work, right? It doesn't work in practice. It'd be great. Yeah. First of all, they're not journalists. They are not good at extracting information from their own brains for this purpose. And so what it does is it makes the subject matter expert and the journalist and the good researcher the two cogs that make this machine work. And then the technology that has advanced that accelerates this is a language model and data-based analysis. So I can take transcripts and do a lot more with them a lot quicker. I can take audio recordings and do a lot more with them a lot quicker. I can take a suitable for analysis conference call, right? With people on it and start a conversation and see where it goes. And I can do a lot more with that than I could in the past. That's what starts to unlock this. So when we get into kind of some of the ways to actionable insights, it's a lot about you becoming a real journalist if you're not already, instead of a keyword researcher. And not that I'm knocking keyword research. That's my baby. That's my stuff. I've been doing it for a real long time. But it makes you have to become a great journalist overnight. Makes you have to learn how fact checking works. Makes you have to learn how research can be effective and efficient, and then how to weave that together with your performance, and other types of needs, brand, style, voice, tone. Right? If you were just writing garbage for the blog to try to get rankings, that horse left the station a whole long because you are a dollar a dozen. There's a whole lot of SEOs that can do that. You can't do that anymore. You can't just write mediocre content for the blog, get your 4 pieces out a week, call it a day. It doesn't work anymore. You have to change. Been saying this for multiple years on top of the soapbox. Now it's reality. Everybody's like, oh man, I literally had a slide that said, you have to change today. And someone was like, man, Jeff, your presentation was a little doom and gloom. This was a couple of years ago. I'm like, it's coming, dude. It's coming. And I said, you got to get ahead of this. And so now the people who had the expertise, who had full funnel coverage instead of just maybe middle of funnel or bottom of the funnel while they were trying to just get leads, those are the winners. They're winning right now. Pound sand and chain. You're going to go up and you're going to fix this and you're going to get experts in the loop. You're not going to build a generic brief. You're going to build a brief with the inputs from your business so that when your writer or your product manager reads the brief, they're like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is actually personalized. I want to help out with this project. They don't just look at it, it's how to tie shoes, how to tie a shoe or how to boil an egg, that type of content, which for a long time has been the norm for content marketers not embracing artificial intelligence.
Completely agree. Folks, we're talking with Jeff Coyle about creating content using AI, particularly as an SME, and how that's changing
Mhm.
dramatically. And I've got a few more questions for him. But before I get to those, let me share with you the tool that I'm using as an AI assistant all day long. This episode of AI and Marketing Unpacked is brought to you by Magi, your gateway to making generative AI incredibly simple and accessible. Wondering how to seamlessly integrate AI into your marketing strategy without getting bogged down by complexities? That's exactly where Magi shines. It provides user friendly AI solutions that empower marketers just like you to innovate and elevate your campaigns without needing a degree in data science. Imagine having the power to generate creative content, insightful marketing data analysis, or even personalized customer communications, all at the touch of a button. Magi isn't just about providing tools, it's about transforming your approach to marketing with AI that's tailor made to be straightforward and effective. So, whether you're looking to boost your content creation process or want deeper insights into your marketing performance, Magi makes it all possible with a few clicks. No fuss, no hassle, just results. Ready to simplify your AI journey? Visit Magi today to learn how their solutions can revolutionize the way you engage with your audience. Don't just market smarter with Magi. Tap the link in the show notes. So, Jeff, you actually touched on some of the challenges, right? Where it's too easy to use AI to create mediocre content.
Yep.
It's too easy to ignore that AI might generate quote unquote facts that aren't actually facts. It's hallucinating. I use AI obviously to help me with this podcast, and I have to specifically tell it when it's trying to get quotes. A, don't give a quote from me, and B, make sure it's a quote from the guest that is literally from the transcript. Don't make it up. I have to tell it that. So we've got these challenges. Can you give us a use case or an example or a case study where AI, despite all these challenges, still significantly positively impacted some SME driven content?
Oh yeah, gosh, I could pile it on with it. But your mid reel discussion. I want to try Magi now. I never tried
It's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna right after that. The first thing I do. So involving SMEs, right? So I think when you graduate, I'll say from a standard large language model interaction, you can start to think of this thing's really good at a lot of stuff. and I'll probably shock you when I say this. The least interesting thing that a large language model can do is to write a draft for a page of content that I want to put on the web. To me, that's not terribly interesting. And I know everybody's like, what? What are you talking about? For me and for, my peers and people who are thinking about this the way that I do, it's really great at doing things that get me closer to be able to execute on a piece of expert content, not actually writing the expert content. Why? There's so many reasons why. You mentioned a few of them. But what I don't want to put myself in a position of is where my end result is a draft that I've generated that I had to edit dramatically and maybe even decrease my efficiency. And then what I get out of the bottom is something similar to what I would have written on my own. So what I don't want to do, let me just make this clear, is spend time only as an editor and then not improve speed and not improve quality. What I want to do is I want to bring all of my amazingness to the table during the planning phase so that right before the draft gets written, the thing that if you're going to feed it in to have it draft copy is all my stuff. It's all of my magic. It's my unique experience. It's my unique expertise or my teams. It's the expertise of my CEO or of my product management lead or of my CX person. It's not that I'm going back to my draft and I'm adding the anecdote from CX, from customer success. I want that in the loop because that actually melds together a great story, them being involved. So how can I bring the heat there? I want all of that involved in my process. Some people can, and so if you're not familiar with what an agent is, basically you can, like you've seen with chatbots, what is the data set that it's able to reference, right? And that'd be a unique thing. So is that your website? Is that, a particular set of materials? Those one way that you can start to get more refined. You can also have those tomes or those documents on your end that are cycling through the process. So you're making sure that your brand style tone boys are in the loop before the process begins. I feel, and I take things a little bit different. I'm most efficient to just get to the line of that perfect briefing. And then I'm able to execute and write very fast. I'm extraordinarily slow. I'm not a great writer at all. And so that's the way that I speed up my workflow is to have that perfect artifact right before the writing begins. What AI is really great at is distilling, summarizing, establishing a great process that you might have blind spots on, turning one type of content into another. So how do you use that? You asked for a couple examples. One of my favorite examples is a team who has has worked with us to envelop these technologies. They pick winners all the time. They operate at 50% plus for performance. What is their goal to publishing, which most people can't dream of. 10% is about the industry average that we see. So you're writing 10 articles to get one to work. And one of the coolest things that I've seen isn't even what MarketMuse does right now. It takes the copy that gets approved, integrates it with the brief and builds many different campaigns out of it for other omni-channel, for other channels. So they know their source of truth is the brief, is the content that gets approved. And then they use that to turn it into a social media campaign, to turn it into an email marketing drip campaign, to turn it into a internal education campaign, to turn it into a customer training campaign. And that to me is magic. You did one unit of work that you're super proud of. When it hits that, they use the term of bullets and cannonballs. When you have a cannonball, that opens up it allows that page to then become 7 different campaigns. That's the ultimate repurposing.
Mm.
And you can do that extraordinarily quickly and extraordinarily efficiently and in high quality, as long as you have those artifacts to start with. If you don't, you just take a page, maybe your competitor's page, I've seen people don't do that, by the way. And you try to turn it into your own social media campaign, it's not going to really work out. But those are the ways that the winners keep winning. when you can turn 1 unit of work into 8 with no risk. Think about it, right? Because when you're doing this just for on-page content, if you do anything less than amazing, you're putting your site at risk, search engine optimization perspective. When it goes omni-channel, when you turn that amazing content into all these other things, those aren't risking. Those aren't putting you at risk. So the sharps right now are doing an amazing job with their web content, and they're seeing how can they repurpose most effectively for distribution. And that is a way to get 7, 8, 9, 10x on your returns. But I'll also say as an adjunct, there is a lot of times those other channels are under fire because they're not being connected to revenue. So people are looking for ways to streamline. You're not trying to eliminate those things, but you're trying to eliminate manual work when you can't connect it to revenue. And if you have any channels that you're not reporting against revenue, this is your step. This is the way you change the way that everybody in your company thinks about marketing.
That's something we talk about a lot at Agorapulse. I work
Hmm.
full time there. We're a social media
Yes.
management tool. And, one of the key tenets is we're connecting the individual links that are shared to social media through Agorapulse, whether that's a post or a reply or a direct message. We're tracking all that. We're connecting to Google Analytics. So if you're sharing a blog post in a direct message to somebody who expressed some interest, maybe it's a sales outreach, we can track that specific link click, pull in Google Analytics data and know, did that person end up signing up for a trial or a demo? So what's their actual revenue? So now all of a sudden we get actual revenue reporting from social media, and AI can participate in that process by helping us identify the best pieces of content to share, the best snippets and that sort of thing out of those pieces of content to share. And in fact, we're probably building an internal LLM and a model that will help our sales team understand, if I'm in this conversation with this prospect who has this specific pain point, out of the 1,000 pieces of content that we've created in our existence, probably more than 1,000, right?
Yes.
What
Yes.
can I share with them right now? I'm leading a
It's trained.
squad right now where
Used to be
I'm
manual.
being asked to train sales reps on the best pieces of content that we have. And I'm going to do that. But at the same time, I'm thinking this isn't scalable, right? How do I keep training them on all the content that's out there? I'm not going to. I need to give them a tool that they'll be able to have in their hands to search all that.
Yes. Oh man. So there to unpack that. Okay. So I'll just take it back, right? So someone who I feel is like the best sales enablement, or her name's Pam Didner. If you're not familiar with her,
Yeah.
she's
Pam's
amazing.
fantastic.
Oh, Pam, a great friend of mine, super thought leader in sales enablement, wrote the book on sales enablement. If you care about, one of the things she always used to say is, I can tell your gap in, and if you know Pam, tell your gaps. Do the stages in your CRM match the buyer journey that your marketing team markets against? And then everybody, oh no, it's like that demo. Okay, is that what your marketing team focus on? Okay, the merging of those two things is, in my opinion, the easiest definition of sales enablement. Well, now with the ability to analyze calls, potentially have an agent live with you on the call and have access to your entire library for recommendations, right? The first is semantic similarity. I know it's a
Right.
nerdy way to say this is the article you have that matches the collective of the text or the vectorization of the text. By the way, vectors, 3D cube of all the concepts related to the thing you're talking about. Imagine that. So if you're 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation, right? I'm talking about Nike shoes. Something over here in left field inside that 3D cube mentions hiking, running, right? So that's kind of something to think about, some way to think about it, right? If you were to write about hiking shoes and you never mention the concept of trail running, you're probably not an expert. That's kind of the way that vectorization works. Um, Easy way to think about topic modeling. So you can do it solely with that, right? So, these people are talking, I'm on a phone call and we're talking about podcast microphones. I better mention my experience with Blue or a review I did from 6 weeks ago about the Yeti microphone. So, but the next frontier on that is feeding in your success data from your CRM to train that model. All right. So I can take when this article was shared, when this page was shared, did it progress the deal? How much revenue was generated? Now feed that back in to the top of that learning system. Now, not only am I giving my salesperson, I think we're just inventing a product right now. Not only do we give
Okay.
my, yeah, okay, so you can have the trademark. So not only are you feeding in this, so you're basically giving maybe you give the rep the most relevant document, but then you give them the one that likely will win the deal.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's hot, right? And so with basic data studios, there's actually a data studio called MadKudu, MADKUDU. You could achieve these things today and in short order. So yeah, these are the types of things I think about and dream. It's get the right, we have to get the right content to the right people at the right time. A lot of these
Right.
publishers are doing this too. Just to tell you the truth, they're thinking about this too. So you're going to see a lot of new things from publishers who are advancing and driving the bus. If you're not already planning on it, especially for the audience, MAICON, Macon,
Oh yeah.
it's in Cleveland. If you want to hobnob with everybody thinking about this and buy me a beer, I'll go to that. And will you want to see the kind of the next frontier here is it's people who are thinking like you are and people who are thinking about, hey, I could just give them an internal search engine, right? For my docs,
Right.
or actually could connect this to revenue. I'm just going to have to invest. I mean, it's going to cost me money, it's time, energy. I'm going to have to get, some belief from the executive team that this is worth it. Trust me though, I've done this. I've done this with
Oh yeah.
predictive leads. We've done it with predictive lead scoring. Same concept. And it's a home run. Home run. It'll change the way you think about AI. Gosh, isn't it funny how little we actually talk about generating content
Right.
when we talk about this?
Right.
My hottest tip for everyone, think less about that and more about everything else. And guess what? Your content's going to get better and more amazing and more performant. The siren song of pressing a button and getting a page,
Yeah.
killing people. It's killing people because what's it doing? It's making the C staff, the C level executives think marketing is not worth it. It's making them think it's free, and it's making them think that content doesn't have any value. All right. It's making lazy marketers publish higher volumes of mediocrity.
Yeah.
You got to be the don't. You have to be the don't on that craps table. Sorry, folks. We ain't doing this. We're doing it differently. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, great shout out to Macon. I went last year. I couldn't fit in my schedule this year. Definitely going next year. It's
Uh,
a fabulous conference. In fact, last year was with Agorapulse, which was fine, except I was stuck in the booth, so I didn't get to go to any of the sessions. So I'm going to be fixing that next year. But it was terrific just to be in that environment and
oh,
see
yeah.
all these folks
It's crazy.
who are largely in the same position we are, where they're asking questions, they have ideas, but they don't have answers. None of us do.
Right.
Nobody's an expert. Anyone says they've been an expert in generative AI for 2 decades, they're lying.
They're
No, I
lying.
haven't been around that
I've
long.
been doing it
Um,
I'm doing it about 8 or 9. So,
right?
but it's, I always say, so we launched a generative AI product between GPT-2 and 3.
Hmm,
It was not a success because it was great. It produced amazing content, by the way, the best of its time. But to generate a page, it would take days and it would cost lots of money. Okay. Like, and no one wanted to wait 5 days to get 5 paragraphs of content that cost $80 worth of compute time. Now that same thing is fractions of pennies. But, having that experience of going through that made it so that I could build what I'm building right now. And shocks me every day. I'm generating, I have a news brief offering, which comes out next month, and no one's doing that. And he when I see it, I'm like, this is cool. Nobody figured this out yet. So there is still frontiers that people haven't figured out. And some of them are real hard to figure out. These are good for party games too. I, I'll bring a brief for a restaurant review before my friends and I will go out to dinner. I'm like, here's our review. And they're like, you're such a weirdo. Come on.
right? Such a dork.
That's
But the cool thing is, a lot of the things that we are talking about today are doable, right? You
Yeah.
kind of talked about how
Day one.
the use case I
Easy.
was presenting
Yep.
was, a quote unquote search engine of all the content, but it goes beyond a quote unquote search engine because it's smart. It's to your point.
Recommendation
If we,
engine.
if this product that we're going to build is feeding in
Yeah.
the
As
the
you.
data, right?
Right.
It gets smarter. So in my business at Agorapulse,
Yes.
we're often talking to folks who are currently using, let's say, Sprout Social.
Right.
So an initial database might say, "Oh, give them this document that talks about how to switch from Agorapulse
Right.
to or from Sprout Social to Agorapulse." Which, okay, that's all right. But after some trial and error, you might realize, hey, this story of a specific company that looks just like them, how they switched and succeeded. Oh, that's going to perform so much better. It's layering in the context. It's fantastic.
You just
I love that we went
package
there.
this up and send it to a bunch of VCs. I think we just
Right?
raised a seed round with this thought. It's not just that, right?
Yeah.
It's everything where that type of process exists. If you want to get into explicit actional, okay, same thing, internal links. Same thing,
Yep.
internal links, right? Same thing, content
Yeah.
updates.
I'm
All
using a
right.
tool for internal links called Link Whisper
Oh,
that
I know the founder very well, Spencer Voss. He's a very close friend of mine, and we have an internal link tool as well. So we jive, we jab with each other. But yeah, Spencer and I are longtime close friends. So
yeah, yeah.
go check out Link Whisper. It's
And
awesome.
it's not to the level of what you're talking about, right? Where it's analyzing success rates and giving feedback, but it's smart and it's fast, and I love that.
Yep,
Wow, okay, we
we're out of time, aren't we?
we're going to come back
You
and have
said
a
we would
whole
be
second
like 10 minutes.
conversation.
This we could make this 6 hours. I think if us.
Folks, I think I asked Jeff one question, and obviously you just spin him up and he takes off, which is
That's
fantastic.
basically me.
That's
So
right. Jeff, you have been amazing. For folks who do wanna learn more, follow you, connect with you, where can they go?
I answer everything. DM me on the X Twitter, Jeffrey_Coyle, LinkedIn. Just make sure so I don't think you're a spammer. Just mention Mike and mention the show. If you do, shoot me a note on LinkedIn, or you can email me, jeff@marketmuse.com. If it was safe, I would give you my cell phone. I love this stuff. If you have a unique challenge with content, or you just want to check out MarketMuse, go to marketmuse.com. We have a reverse trial, so you get 7 days of one of our premium packages at no cost. There is no obligation. Go check it out. We have some new products coming in the next few weeks that are going to break your brain, frankly. So depending on when you're listening to this, it is June 28th when we're recording it. But yeah, go check it out. And if you want more information about it, email me or shoot the support a note, and they'll get you hooked up with the right people. But yeah, MarketMuse, MarketMuse. I own a beer brewery based in Georgia. So if you're based in Georgia, go check out Silver Bluff Brewing. We have won a World Beer Cup, US Open, Brewski Beer of the Year. We are legit and one of the fastest growing breweries in Georgia. So check that out.
Fantastic. We will have all the links in the show notes, but I'm afraid you're gonna have to go to Atlanta if you want a beer. I can't give you that digitally, and I think we should do that. Folks, this has been terrific. Thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks for all of you who've listening. That's all we've got for today. Don't forget to find the AI Marketing Unpacked podcast on Apple and drop us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Until next time, welcome to the grid. Thanks for joining us on AI and Marketing Unpacked. I hope today's episode has inspired you and given you actionable insights to integrate AI into your marketing strategies. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Don't forget to join us next time as we continue to simplify AI and help you make a real impact in your marketing efforts. Until then, keep innovating and see just how far AI can take your market. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day.